Hey friends, so September 8th marked a very auspicious anniversary. That was the date I uploaded my very first tech blog to this very YouTube channel and got the ball rolling on what's turned out to be the biggest project of my life. I've been trying for a month now to figure out how exactly to commemorate this milestone, and I have to confess I'm still pretty lost on how and even if to do so. Lately, I have been having some feelings about my channel and its future, as well as the future of the flow arts in general, and it feels kind of odd to celebrate something that I feel so conflicted about currently. It doesn't help that at one point I was planning on hosting an in-person event to commemorate the anniversary that wound up falling through for a variety of reasons. It's hard to feel like a success when you feel like you've just had a major failure. And as it turns out, having some self-doubt is kind of par for the course with these big anniversaries. I went back and took a look and discovered I was likewise struggling back in 2018 when I was observing the 10-year anniversary of this channel. I tend to get a little depressed on my birthday too, so it could just be that that's baked into big milestones like this for me. But despite all that, I figured that this was still an occasion that I'd want to look back and say that I observed and celebrated it in some form. So here goes. It's definitely weird thinking about having done this now for 15 years and having been doing it full time for more than 10. That was definitely not the plan when I got started. When I first picked up Poi, I thought it was just going to be a fun hobby to help keep me fit as I was following what was then my primary passion of human rights activism. I didn't even share my videos when I first started posting them to my YouTube channel. I kind of just let them sit there like a personal diary of what I was working on with my Poi spinning. So if I have some gratitude to share, the first person who likely deserves it is Alien John. John was the person who shared my videos when even I wasn't doing that. On a thread on the Home of Poi forums asking about Poi 1.5s, John shared my first 4 tech blogs, and lo and behold, I suddenly had viewers and an audience. Unexpected, but cool. My goal at the time was simple: record a new video every week of the Poi tricks that I was working on. It was something that kept me practicing and forced me to engage in accountability around trying things out every week. Where so many people I knew that started spinning Poi at the same time I did fell off with it at some point, my video diary goal kept me going with it, and that consistency wound up being crucial for building an audience. Looking back on these early videos, it's more than a little bit embarrassing how bad the audio and video quality is. I was shooting most of these with a point-and-shoot digital camera that I'd gotten for Christmas, or when I'd forgotten to charge the battery for that, just the camera on my laptop. The results were not inspiring, but it was good enough to show off the stuff that I was talking about. Good enough that other people could tell what it was I was trying to do, and good enough for people to keep tuning in. And as it turned out, good enough to convince fire festivals to let me teach for them. Though I never thought of them as being explicitly tutorials, a great many other people did, and they helped me get onto the teaching lineups of so many festivals that I found myself having to choose between my day job and traveling the world spinning Poi. Spoilers. I chose the latter. And this wasn't smooth sailing at all. I remember my first day of unemployment becoming painfully aware of the fact that when I had my traditional job, I could dick around on my laptop for a few hours in the morning and I'd still be getting paid. But that wasn't the case anymore. Being self-employed meant that money only came in the door when I was directly engaged in activities that would help bring it in. This realization led to an enormous amount of anxiety that has never really completely gone away. And it left me with a huge unanswered question. If indeed I was going to spin Poi full-time, how exactly was I going to earn a living doing it? There were local entertainment companies that would hire me out for gigs, but the work wasn't exactly consistent. I taught classes at a local dance studio, but the attendance could really be hit or miss. And I tried flying around to different cities and teaching workshops, but I struggled to break even on these excursions. The first real breakthrough happened for me when I got a hookup for a company willing to sell me stage balls wholesale, and thus I got into the business of selling contact Poi through my website. This was a big game changer for me in that it gave me a stable, if somewhat labor-intensive source of income at a time when contact Poi were in high demand. This was the first time I didn't have to subsidize my income through taking consulting or programming gigs in order to make ends meet. And it was also unsustainable in the long run for me. The labor to create contact Poi was expensive, and at first, I'd failed to factor it into the cost to produce each set that I sold. Entrepreneur side note, Labor costs are absolutely a thing, and you'll find that out real quickly when somebody other than yourself has to make a thing, which will happen if you want your business to grow. As I tried to expand and bring in help, I found I wasn't well suited to running HR. As it turns out, businesses require a lot of really specific roles to flourish, and I just wasn't good at many of them. I realized that I could rise to the challenge of making my business grow, but that it would take time away from creating content, and that was my true love. So in the end, I let that part of my business go, and I'm really glad that I did. Teaching poi is my core competency, not making poi. But by then, a brand new tool was available for online creators like myself that allowed us to pull something like a stable salary, and even better than that, connect with our most passionate and ardent fans. I am talking, of course, about Patreon. I actually avoided joining Patreon for a couple years because as a programmer, I reasoned that I could create a clone on my website that was good enough, and I didn't want to give up any part of my income to Patreon's admin fees. And in the end, I have to admit that the system that I built was kind of a nightmare to navigate, and I bit the bullet. I signed up for Patreon, and in the process discovered that sometimes paying for a cleaner user interface and a trusted brand to interface between you and your customers is actually a really great move. Patreon saved my channel, make no mistake. So if there's a second dose of gratitude to dispense out there, it's to Jack Conte for creating the platform and the hundreds of people who signed up to it over the years to support me and the content that I wanted to create. And so I was able to create content, and I had financial backing for doing so. But my channel was still really small by the standards of YouTube. I really began to question whether I'd ever be able to make a sustainable income doing what I was doing. How exactly was I going to make this anything more than a hobby that brought a trickle of money in with it? That's when an old friend connected me with a mutual friend from college, somebody who'd seen other internet entrepreneurs build their businesses and agreed to chat with me about how to build mine. I gave him a lot of pushback too. I was skeptical of nearly everything that he suggested, from email list building to offering parts of a course I'd spent months working on for free to get people interested in taking the rest. And you know what? He was right about everything. So our third bit of gratitude here definitely has to go to Will Sisk and his very patient coaching sessions with me as I was gradually realizing I wasn't just an artist or an educator, but also an entrepreneur. And it was also about this time that I discovered keyword targeting was a thing, that lots of people would look up similar things on Google and YouTube, and if you played your cards right and optimized your tags, titles, and video descriptions right, that you could rank higher in search. And this absolutely changed the game for me. Instead of slow incremental growth, my channel saw exponential growth. I was ranking in common searches alongside videos that I considered to be revolutionary and had been deeply influential to me. And this was about the time that I started seeing my name pop up next to those of my idols as a resource to go to in order to learn poi. I'd started keeping track of different poi channels and their growth on YouTube, and quickly realized I was on pace to outgrow everyone else within a few years. It felt really cool. And then something happened that utterly transformed my mission and my channel's prospects. The COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone was stuck inside for lockdown, and I instantly knew that I could help. People were going to need things to do to keep themselves busy at home, things to keep them fit, to give them new challenges to engage in, and to give them something to focus on other than the state of the world. And I had just the thing. So I took material that I had been working on for a brand new poi beginner series to offer on my paid course site, and I repurposed the material for daily tutorials I'd put out there to the world on my channel. I would record a week's worth of videos all in a single day and spend the next 5 days editing and posting each video so people could wake up to a brand new challenge every day. I kept this up for nearly 3 months. It was exhausting, but it sped up my growth like you would not believe. And even better than that, brought in so many new people to learn from and support my work that I reached a long-time goal of getting my income back to where it was before I left my last traditional job. All from spinning poi. It felt like an incredible accomplishment. Of course, 3 years have passed since all that went down. Time definitely got a little mucked up thanks to the pandemic. That feels like it was both yesterday as well as eons ago. And that kind of brings us to the present day and what I think is going to be my final piece of gratitude in this video. And that's for all of you out there watching, learning, and supporting my work. I don't get to the point where I'm making a comfortable living without tens of thousands of you out there contributing your attention, energy, and support to my work. I cannot emphasize this enough. This was not the plan when I started my channel. This was not even the plan several years into my channel. And it would never have become the plan were it not for all of you out there tuning in. This glorious and frequently ramshackle experiment wouldn't have worked at all if you all hadn't been there. And so, after 15 years, more than a third of my entire life, all I have to say is thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything. Y'all are the reason that I get up in the morning and brainstorm topics for new videos. Y'all are the reason that I learned how to properly use a camera and light a studio. Y'all are the reason that I wrestle with Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere. Believe me, I wouldn't bother otherwise. And y'all are the reason that I put this stuff out into the world constantly. And in return, I get to see y'all grow and blossom as flow artists. Seeing people take the stuff that I've taught them and shining with it absolutely makes my day. You have no idea. I get to see the scene grow and evolve and mutate over time. I get to meet really amazing people who change my perspective and teach me new things about the world. I get to feel the love of thousands of people out there watching and supporting the work that I do. So thank you, one and all. It's been a truly amazing ride this past decade and a half. I've had good times, I've had real bad times, but I've gotten to do something that most people only ever dream of. And for that, I'm really grateful. Thank you. And with that, I should also put out some thank yous to the people that are supporting my work currently, starting with the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flowfests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friend of the channel, Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. And of course, this video would not exist without the wonderful support of those of you who've signed up to support me on Patreon. Special shout out to my Flow patrons who are listed on screen. If you like what I do, don't be afraid to check out my Patreon and sign up. You can do so for as little as $1 a month, and every little bit helps. If you'd like to check out other videos that I've done on my own history and the history of others, I'll include a link to a playlist of those videos down in the description as well as up on screen if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening to me wax nostalgic about all this. Be sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a new video real soon. Take care now. Peace.